Welcome to Soaring in Faith. I'm Beck, and today's topic will be a continuance from the topic I left off at last week regarding cycles. Um, One thing I had suggested was thinking about encouraging you all to think about what cycles may be traceable that may be traced back to generations, past generations, and what cycles are in your path that you can break, put forth the effort to break in order to embrace a stronger future that's meant for you. So I had discussed the cycle of alcoholism that I traced back to my great-grandmother on my mom's side. Never got to know my great-grandma. She died when my mom was 13. And but I did know about her history. And one thing I definitely want to clear up after sharing that story with you all about my mom and her older sister being sent to live with their grandma, my grandma, their mom, in California when they were little. I don't know exactly how long they had to live with their mom. It was really hard for my mom to express a lot about her past because of the pain. And so when she spoke, you had to listen. And you never knew if she would ever really speak about it again. But those opportunities I took, I listened. And so I was thinking about sharing the part about my mom being around 7 when she went to live with my grandma. And recalled a story that mom told me. She had shared with me that she was very young, and the environment that my grandmother had them in, it was full of alcoholics. And mom shared a story about her crawling up to a man who was in at a party or something that my grandma was attending, and crawled up to this man. And I don't know if he begged for her or what, but she crawled up to this man and he picked her up and threw her. And she shared that story. So the more I started thinking, she was really, really young. Actually, it sounds like toddler age when they went out there to live with my maternal grandmother. And when they came back, I remember my uncle, and when I say came back, returning to Colorado from California, I remember my uncle sharing with me that they did not know that they had sisters, or they just hadn't seen. He was the youngest son of the 3 sons. And he said all of a sudden he remembers coming home from school and some little girl was on his bike riding around. So I imagine my mom was around 6 or 7 when she returned to Colorado. And so that's the best time frame I could give you as far as how much time my mom and her older sister spent in California being cared for by my maternal grandmother or whoever they were being cared for by, because my grandmother struggled with alcoholism for as long as she was a parent, and probably beyond that. So, and it was alcoholism that claimed my grandmother's life. It was a battle that she wasn't able to really win. So she died from alcoholism. So the story that I shared with you about my mom being thrown by a man, That's probably the first time I ever really connected cycles, but not necessarily understanding the term. And so, what I'm going to do is share a very personal story with you about a cycle that I got caught up in. And it was pretty much one of the first few that I identified as a cycle. So, something similar happened to me. Mom was dating a man that she had met. She was introduced by my deceased auntie's husband. And out of respect for my aunt, and just to give you a little bit about her background, because she needs to be recognized for this is great, is although she and my mom had to deal with their mom battling alcoholism, one thing my auntie vowed is that she would never drink. And so she was not into drinking alcohol, consuming alcohol. So I definitely wanted to make sure that that was made known. So after she passed away when I was 3 years old. And after she passed away, my mom remained in contact with my uncle. And through my uncle, met a man who kind of came in and left his markings in a very bad, dark way. And we'll get into that. That I kind of repeated those cycles as far as who I selected to date. But the man she allowed into her life was very violent. And so my mom got caught up in a domestic violence situation. And I will never forget, I was 7. And he came to the house, and he was struggling with a lot of things, a lot of addictions. But he came to the house, banging on the door. I think my mom kind of, maybe started realizing that he wasn't very healthy to be around us. But it was kind of too late because she was I guess it was never too late because she was able to get out of it. But at this time, it was there was more damage that was on the way. So he came to the house and banging on the door. And I remember her telling us not to let him in. But eventually she gave in and let him in. And he was charging after my mother. And she was in the back of the house where we were staying at the time. And I remember thinking, you know what? I'm going to beat this man up. And I'm a little 7-year-old little girl. So I remember running after him and leaping up onto his back. And next thing I know, he elbowed me. I go flying across and up against the wall in our kitchen. And I couldn't save my mom. That's when I realized I couldn't save my mom. And it was bad. It was very violent. So the story that Mom always shared with me about crawling up to this man when she was in California and the man picking her up and throwing her across the room, a lot of similarities. And that's one of the cycles that I remember thinking, gosh, I was treated the same way my mom was. A big part of a cycle that I had to battle that I wanted to share this week is violence. When I was a little girl, I was super kind, and I am still very kind. I am. But when I was a little girl, Mama didn't like my kindness. She didn't care for me to be too kind. And unfortunately, I was picked on a lot. And as you already know a lot about our history, Mama losing her mom at 13 and, dealing with the effects of seeing her mom consume alcohol and just, I don't even know if it was that as much as it was just having to grow up without her mom. She grew up pretty angry. And I know she was born into this world not understanding why she had to deal with so much of the pain that she had to deal with, but she did. And so the anger that she had to live with, she projected off onto me. And I forgive my mom till this day because she didn't know any better. And she was abandoned by their mom. But the blessed thing about it that I turned into a very positive piece is that she never abandoned us. She raised 3 kids on her own. And she could have done what her mom did by leaving us, abandoning us, allowing the alcohol to consume her world. But you know what? She fought and she broke that cycle. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here. But yeah, she, when I was a little girl and she was struggling with a lot of her anger, one thing she said is, Dion, you're going to have to learn how to toughen up and stick up for yourself and fight these people that are not being very kind to you. And so, unfortunately, I would get spankings if somebody picked on me and I didn't fight back. And I didn't want to fight back. I loved people. But it was kind of like, if you're going to be a little girl in this house, you're going to learn to stick up for yourself because I can't be there 24/7 to fight your battles for you. So unfortunately, I would get spankings for not fighting back. And one thing I remember my mom saying is, if you don't learn to fight back, then you're going to get it from me. It was in harsher terms. So I got scared of my mom and I was like, shoot, I got to stick up for myself. And that's in some of my past, like if I'm interviewing with other people and in some of my past videos, you may hear me speak about getting caught up in fights and things like that. That is the reason why. I was spanked because my mother wanted me to stick up for myself. And it was kind of one of those things where if you're going to let these kids pick on you, you're going to get it when you get home. And I had grown to become terrified of my mother. And I believe that she also wanted to toughen my spirit up. I know that was another reason. So that's through the anger of being spanked by her, the abuse that I had to watch her go through, just horrible things. And then also being a child that was abused by this same man. I grew very angry. And so the first time I exploded was I remember in my 4th grade year. And I remember feeling so proud because I was like, I stuck up for myself. My mom's going to be super happy about this. I can't wait to get home and tell her. And I think she was satisfied. But what that led to was me being bullied more. At the time, gangs were starting to infest our neighborhood. It was bad. And so I didn't realize what I was walking into, but I knew that in order to live peacefully, somewhat peacefully in my home, that I had to stick up for myself. And so it's kind of like, okay, Mom, I'm doing what you want me to do. Well, it grew so deep for me with the violence that years later, after being suspended multiple times and even at one point indefinitely kicked out of school during my middle school years, my mom was like, you know what, you got to stop. And I remember feeling so twisted in my mind because I was like, wait a minute, you encouraged me to stick up for myself. And now that I've learned to stick up for myself and fight these bullies, there was no end to it, but it opened up a brand new world for me. And that just seemed like I was swirling downward into this dark pit. And I know that Mom saw how deep it was going, and she was like, "You've got to stop." So then I started getting spankings because I was fighting. And I think it was her way of undoing what she had instilled in me. And I grew confused and I grew angrier. So over time, it wasn't until I was angry, and that's where a lot of my anger came from. So over time, like I said, when I became a parent, it's almost like the blindfold came off. And I started to see deeper, and I thought, gosh, if I don't shake a lot of these ways, it's going to be passed down to my son. And I really struggled, but I knew that I had a choice to be a different person for the sake of my child and any other children that I was going to bring into the world by standing up and making the changes that I needed to make. So I leave that with you just to let you know. I mean, it got dark for me. And I could go very deep, but I feel like that's enough to let you see that change is always possible and that you don't have to stay down. I remember feeling so caught up in such a dark world that I wasn't sure how I was going to climb up out of there, but I knew I didn't like the darkness that I was caught up in. And I didn't really always have a safe place to go. At home was dark. In the community where we lived in was dark. And I actually can reflect back to a time where I know I was around 13 and feeling as though I was living in pure hell. I was in a mean world. So I share that with you to let you know that no matter how dark life may seem, there is light at the end of the tunnel. You have to believe, you have to have faith, and you have to want to get there. And that means doing everything possible to step out of the darkness. It's not an easy road, I understand. It's not going to happen overnight. But I promise you that every step that you take into the light will be rewarding and worth your time. There were a lot of fearful moments I had, but I knew that if I was going to live this life that I knew I wanted to live in, that I needed to fight for it in a good way, a healthy way. And so a lot of the experiences that I encountered growing up, it left me discouraged. But where I am right now in my life, it was worth it. And I thank God that I had the warrior spirit of I'm not going to settle for anything less than where I desire to be in life. And so what I used to like to do when I was a little girl, I would look through magazines and look at beautiful pictures, and I would dream. I would get caught up in those pictures. And for me, it was kind of like, this is what I want in my life. I saw bright light. And you create your future. You accept what you want in your life. And you have to learn to embrace where you've been. And you have to shoot for what you want. Like, go after what you want. And not allow anything to step into your way. If there's anything, like if you're living somewhat in a negative lifestyle and you want to change, search out people who are living different lifestyles and adapt to that. Become that. I learned as a young mom, because I told you I had my son when I was 18, my first child, the best thing that helped me was to disassociate myself from my past. Because if you allow it to just hang over you like this cloud, this dark cloud, and it just hovers over you, you feel guilty, you feel like you don't deserve to be a better person, you feel like you have to stay where you are. And the best thing that helped me was to dismiss all those negative feelings and say, I am worth it. I'm here for a purpose. I didn't know anything about a purpose back then until someone later on in my life told me that. I was around 22, 23. But I didn't understand that part, but I knew that I wanted a different lifestyle than the darkness that I was living in, especially as a mom. And so when you learn to start dismissing so many of those negative feelings of I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, this is where you should be when it's dark. Don't settle. And those are the first steps that you can take to drawing the line in the sand and saying, I deserve more. And you know why you deserve more? Is because there's purpose in your life. There's purpose in my life, and there's purpose in every single life, every single human being who is on this earth. There is a calling for your life. There is a reason why you're breathing. You just have to search for it. Think about things that you've been through, that you were brought out of, and how you can serve to be a blessing to someone else. There's so much in life worthwhile, worth living, worth going after. And so that's one thing that oh, that's okay. So that's one thing that's worthwhile. I'm sorry, a little bit of a distraction. So sorry. Okay. So that's one thing that I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I don't cut, so forgive me. But I definitely encourage you all to just stay encouraged and not allow anything to make you feel as though you are not worthy. And I know the part that I was on is that there is purpose. There is purpose for your life. And that's where I was, is everyone has a calling in this world, everyone. And in order to search your calling, the best thing that I did was realize that all of the darkness that I was caught up in, I was brought out of. And I don't have any regrets. No regrets. I've been through some pretty horrific things, y'all. And I'm still able to smile. And I don't say that to say that my life was any worse than anyone else's, because we don't compare ourselves, but I've been through hell and back. But I'm here. And you're here with me, you're listening to me. And so I am a living testimony that any and everything you go through, use it for your good. Use it to go out and testify to somebody else, to bring somebody else up and out. Because we all go through struggles. We all experience pain. We all experience trials and tribulations. And I think I've said this before, is no one ever said life would be easy. A lot of it really is what you choose to make out of it. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. But I definitely wanted to leave you with enough to think about until next time. I love nature, and a lot of times I record I choose to record outdoors, but we've had a couple of snowstorms. I'm in Colorado, and we've had a couple of snowstorms, and I got hit with an illness over the past week that today I'm actually feeling way better than how I felt the past 4 days. So, but I felt like it was safer and better for me to kind of come to a different area, different environment. So you'll see more of this little spot. This is a tight little spot that I like to use. So you'll see more of this, but I think I gave you enough to leave you with. I hope and pray that it's helpful. I know I shared a lot of dark stuff, but I know that there are some areas where I need to go to let you know that you are not alone if you're one of the others who feel like you're caught up in a lot of darkness. I have to go there to let you know that no matter how dark your life may seem, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And so I'm here to serve as your light. And I'm here to share stories that might kind of make you feel like, ugh, I don't know how to feel about that. But when you see how I'm living my life and the mission that I'm on, it's going to be a testimony for you to let you know that the fight is worth it when you choose to live in the light. So until next time, God bless you all. Sorry about the interruption. Somebody was just showing somebody else something, and I have to share. So, yeah. But until then, you all take care. God bless you. I got love for you. And let's keep working forward. The challenge that I want to leave you with until we meet again is to figure out ways that you can start drawing that line in the sand to become the best version of yourself. It's possible. I did it. We don't compare ourselves, but if it's possible for one, it's possible for anybody. And I'm here to be that light for you. God bless you all.